Welcome to your best bets. Not a real exciting week last week, even though it's at one of our favorite golf courses, Riviera. The tournament last week, the Genesis Invitational, was kind of a letdown for the most part until maybe the last few holes on Sunday. We're going to talk about that tonight and preview the Honda Classic, an event that once was one of the premier events on tour, and now they call it a schedule casualty, and now it's bringing in a not so great field this week, but we'll preview that. Joining me to break that down is someone that is not going to be a part of the Saudi Golf League. It's Johnny Strouser. What's up, Johnny?
Phil, good to be here. And yeah, you're right. I did make my announcement this afternoon. It was a little bit late. I had to wait to see what kind of DJ and Bryson did on making their decision on the Saudi Golf League, and I am going to stick with the PGA Tour, and all my bets will remain on that.
You didn't put your statement out through the PGA Tour like DJ did. We have no thoughts that he actually wrote that, right?
No chance. He probably, I'm sure his people just kind of went to him, or the PGA Tour asked, and because it was all kind of the way the thing was kind of going, and the direction of how the players were reacting later, as the week was going on. I think he just kind of said, "Hey, put this out there," because he's got a pretty good social media team, though. I mean, it's not a great website and Twitter handle, but I mean, his people post stuff, and I was kind of shocked to see that the actual PGA Tour did that, and I was like, well, I guess whatever works, but happy to see it though nonetheless.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that in a few minutes, and the impact that statement and that decision has trickled down to be. Genesis Invitational this week. Are you more upset that it wasn't a thrilling tournament, or are you more upset that your boy won and you weren't in on it?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, obviously I was big. I've been big on him. Last year I was very big on Joaquin Niemann. Really haven't done it this year because I didn't see the play, and I stayed away from him because there wasn't much to how he was playing. But yeah, really the event overall was just not very good. I mean, he won wire to wire. That's that rarely happens on the PGA Tour, and it's when was the last time it happened at this event? Was 1969. I think Charlie Sifford when he did that. So yeah, I mean, this is one of the top, could be a top 10 golf course. It's one of the best events on the best courses, I should say, on the PGA Tour, and it was just kind of an anticlimactic event that the good players kind of chased him, but he set the pace with a 63 in the first round, which I know you did very well with, and followed up with a 63 and just kind of cruised through the weekend there.
We'll talk about our picks in a second. I did not do great with my picks. I was close, but yeah, I was fortunate enough to get Neiman on a first round leader bet. It's the first one I've hit all year, and it pretty much salvaged my week because I didn't do great otherwise. But Joaquin Niemann, his second tour win, he won the Greenbrier. I think it was 2019, I believe. I think that was the 1920 season.
So.
Yeah, it feels like he's been around forever, right? I think this is his fifth season now. He's been on tour since he's 19. And I feel like we were just talking about this, how he's, he feels like he's been a level or two below like guys like Morikawa, Hovland, basically the same age. But I think this week proved when he's got the putter going and his short game was on display Sunday, it really saved him quite a bit. His ball striking is usually there. And I like a lot of these guys. It comes down to whether he can make the putts or not. And through the first 2 days, he was that was 100% full go for him. And then he did enough on the weekend to hold off Cam Young. So your thoughts on Neiman, what he did, and my favorite question: what's the ceiling?
Well, I mean, you're right. yeah, it seems like this dude's been around for a long, long time. He's only 23 years old, but has been, turned pro right out of after finishing high school there, and has been on the PGA Tour there. And what people may not know about him, because he's being South American and not having the not playing college golf, is he was the number one ranked amateur before turning pro there. Didn't play in a whole lot of amateur events, but won most of them that he played in. Was mostly just went from the junior tour, junior tournaments, to the amateur right to the pros there. So, he's got a lot of game, and he's had a lot of game for a long time, even though he's only 23, and some months old there. So he's in that age group of those good players. I wonder if the slower start to his career was not playing college golf like you see a lot of these young Americans. They're getting a little bit more experience playing that, and college golf is trending a little more towards like tour, not tour life, but tour golf on how the golf courses are set up, and playing multiple days, and playing more frequently and everything like that. So, maybe this does, winning on such a difficult golf course that he made look easy, with a good field. This is a very quality win for him. I mean, Greenbrier was a good win, but this one here with the field that was in it was good. But as for his ceiling, this guy could be one of those maybe win once a year guys for up through his prime. So could I see him winning 10 plus times on the PGA Tour? Yeah, I could see that. I mean, if his swing holds up, he's an unbelievably good ball striker, but he's got a weird move through the ball that guys who have a little bit of a hitch or a dip, or some sort of little movement in their swing, you could lose that really quickly. But I mean, really, in the 4+ years that he's been on tour, hasn't really had that kind of an issue. So it is going to be about putting. He putted really well on these greens, and struck it well and just put it all together. But can he win a major? I think he could contend. I'm not gonna say he's, I'm not gonna bet the over on the 0.5 majors, but I definitely think this guy could win an event, a year on average for a good 15-year stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say he's now ranked, what I saw, 20th in the world. So of course, the 20th ranked player in the world is capable of winning a major. It seems like he might just be a tick below that capability at this point. Realistically, I give him maybe a year or two, and just more experience and more time. I think his short game has to hold up. I feel like his short game really comes and goes. His ball striking is his reliable trait. I was looking at some Honda stats from last year, and I saw he suffered like a meltdown around the greens last year at this tournament. So I think we saw what he can do around those tough greens at Riviera over the weekend, where he was able to really save himself again on Sunday, like number 11 when he chipped in. But I think that's going to be the turning point for him, is whether he can really truly have an elite short game at a major championship. The week wasn't great by any means. I love watching the tournament. We talked about, both of us, along with Zach, how fun this tournament is to watch, and the weather was great, and it was still a great viewing experience, even though it really wasn't that close. And I don't know if it was ever truly in doubt. It felt like as soon as Cam Young got within 1 or 2, then Niemann would make a birdie and Young would make a bogey, then it'd be 4 again. All of a sudden, that gap would close. So it wasn't necessarily the most exciting event, and it's always hard when a guy gets way out early on Friday and he's up by 4 or 5. It doesn't offer a lot of live betting opportunities like we like to do. And when you take a look at the board, and the guy that's leading Friday night is already plus 100, and then you're like, where do I go from here? Which I think is this week. I think we have a lot of live betting opportunities, which we'll talk about. But so it wasn't the best Riviera event, but still fun to watch. How terrifying is Colin Morikawa when he's the guy that's chasing you down?
I would be. I mean, if I were in Neiman's shoes, or if I were, if I knew he was within 6 or 7 shots of me, I'd be scared. I mean, I really would be. As well as he could get going with those irons. I mean, he just gets it going, and it seems like, when you look at some of these guys on tour that tend to have early round success, or early tournament success, I should say, and they end up, faltering a little bit on the weekends. This guy's downright, scary here on final rounds there, because I think he can just kind of swing freely. And what I think also what he does is he maybe loosens his grip pressure and seems to make more putts, and when he feeds off those good irons there. And he made some unbelievable pitch shots.
Oh my God.
I mean, some of the best shots, some of the hardest shots on that golf course from a normal lie, he ends up holing 2 of them out there. So, this is just how this guy's going to be. And I like that, how he's not going to be in that give up mode. He's not there just to collect a paycheck. If he's within striking distance, and I mean, he shot a final round 65 there, he definitely is going to be fun to watch if you know that he's on the first or second page of the leaderboard, just a few shots back.
Something we've always said, always being a year and a half on this podcast, but when he has the spike putting weeks, when it happens, he's probably going to finish in the top 5. And where was he this week? He was 3rd in putting. Mm-hmm. And I was shocked. I was so shocked he didn't make that putt on 18 from 9 feet 8 inches. That, who knows if Niemann's sitting over a second shot on 18, knowing he's only up 1, that might have been a little bit different, but really surprised he missed that. But yeah, he is so dialed in with his irons, and when he's making those 8 to 12 footers, and then when he's making pitch shots off the green, like he did on 7, which was one of the more insane shots I've seen. And then he follows it up on 10, which is even more unlikely, really. Yeah, that was crazy. Obviously, we I think all 3 of us touted him at his number on the podcast last week. He was over plus 2,000. I made him my best bet, came up just short. The bets weren't great. You hit 1. You hit Morikawa over Hovland head to head at minus 110. Zach he went 0 for 5, unfortunately. Sorry, Zach. I hit Adam Scott top 10 for plus 350. Obviously just missed the Morikawa play. Really, really bombed on the Thomas Peters play. That one hurt. And of course, one of your guys just withdrew before the event, and that never works either.
No, that doesn't work there. But like how we always talk about, just one thing is we talk about placing these win bets. If you get some of these guys like Morikawa, get them top 5, and let's say you put a portion of that bet on the top 5, like I've said, you pretty much cover probably your bets for that week, as long as you hit maybe one other bet there. So hopefully, if somebody did the Morikawa bet, that you did take either a top 5 or top 10, even though it wasn't plus money, but not a huge payoff, it still would have been something at least a decent little consolation price.
What other takeaways from the Genesis for you? Any other comments on the top finishers? Or we saw Tiger. Tiger looked good.
Tiger looked great. I mean, he was walking around, without too much issue there, and looked happy and healthy and everything like that. The way he was, and the way I had heard he was walking kind of up and down the hill there from 18 green up to the way up to the clubhouse there. I mean, they said he wasn't laboring, anything like that. So I think he's still targeting an April return. Now, whether that's possible, who knows? I think that interview was I didn't catch the whole thing with Nance when he was on.
Oh my God, Nance was harassing,
but he was just pestering him. But
it was.
I think he's really working hard, really targeting doing that, just kind of like what he did with the father-son, wanting to play with Charlie there, that he really, grinded it away while they were in the Bahamas there. getting his game together. So I'm hoping we're going to end up seeing him. But as for on the course, though, you know, Victor Hovland impressed me with how he played the middle rounds. Didn't start out very well, didn't finish great, but I think he had a couple good rounds there in the middle there with 64 on Friday and 65 on Saturday. I think we need to see more of that on these tougher courses from Hovland. I know he's got such a high ranking, and I know he's a great player and everything like that. But I'm very encouraged to see something like that and to see how how his game is going to translate under tournament pressure, PGA Tour pressure to play well on those. So that was a good sign for me, even though it was I think tied for fourth is what he ended up finishing there. It still ended up. I think that was a good sign as far as him competing in these other bigger events.
Yeah, I mean, we tout Hovland all the time. I thought the ball striking would translate. I wasn't sure about around the greens, but he was adequate being around 60th in the field around the green, but not the worst. JT just continually teasing us. It felt like he putted poorly, but the stats show he was 14th for the week, but it just seemed like on Sunday he gets it going cold and he loses confidence and it feels like nothing is going to go. I don't know. It feels like that's kind of been the story lately.
I think that's kind of him, unfortunately, or however you want to describe it. But it's just, he's if he misses a couple, he's so competitive. And I think he hasn't learned where he can't get down on himself. Like he's competitive like Tiger, but Tiger was able to always forget about a bad shot or a bad putting stroke from a previous hole. And I think that just lingers with JT. And when he's playing well, like when he played well on Friday and shot 64, it's just kind of automatic with him. But it's just if you see something kind of go wrong, it's hard for him to right the ship. And he'll learn that over the course of time. But that's when you can kind of know that he's going to really have to grind it out, and he can't really turn it around as well as you'd hope a player of his caliber would.
Right. Yeah, and I think he was on such a crazy pace of wins, right? From basically 2017 when he won his major, and I think he won 4 times, won Player of the Year. I think 18 he won at least twice, maybe 3 times, and I think 19 he won a couple. Started to slow down a little bit, and maybe that pace was a bit unsustainable. I think he's at 14 right now at the age of 28, and it's hard to win, period. It's hard to win 3-4 times a year every year. You just don't see guys do it, really, except one guy in our generation at least that's been able to replicate that pace. I mean, even guys like Rory and Dustin, Spieth, they get these peak years, and then they've kind of followed up with maybe one win a year for a couple of years, and maybe they spike back up later. So we'll see if JT can get what I think we both consider his clear weakness with the putter, and get that going in the right direction for Augusta, because man, he's hitting the ball so well. Hopefully he gets that corrected and really gives himself a chance at Augusta. I don't really have anything else from Genesis, except for some Saudi fallout. So, but yeah, Tiger looked good. Seemed happy. Seemed in good spirits. I'd be surprised if he played at Augusta still. I mean, we're talking about a month away now, and it seems like it's such a physical endeavor, as we've talked about the walk there. But I think we definitely could see him at par 3, and then if nothing else, that'd be a nice treat, middle of the week there at the Masters if we saw him at that point. Anything else from Genesis?
Now let's move on to the comments made prior to the event there.
Yeah, so I don't know where to start with this. We talked about it last week. Tim and I talked about it 2 weeks ago. You and I actually hit on this, I think, in the fall when we did our little piece on live golf. We talked about the PGL as well and the competing leagues. I guess chronologically, we talked about the Charlie Hoffman stuff last week at Phoenix. We recorded on Tuesday night. I think it was the next day, on Wednesday. The Alan Shipnuck piece came out with Mickelson. Shipnuck is writing a book, or finished writing a book that's going to be released, I think, in May about Mickelson. And I don't know if Alan Shipnuck should be credited for saving the PGA Tour, but maybe inadvertently that's what he did this week or last week. But I think the quote that got me, and I'm going to read this, and we can go from there, and that'll propel us to what was said the rest of the week and what came out. But Mickelson said, and this is on Shipnuck's website, the Fire Pit Collective, that he enlisted 3 other top players that he didn't name to pay for attorneys to write the SGL's operating agreement. And once again, the SGL being the Super Golf League, funded by the Saudi government and their basically unlimited fortune. Codifying that the players would have control of all the details of the league. He didn't pretend to be excited about hitching his fortunes to Saudi Arabia, admitting that SGL was nothing more than what he called sports washing by a brutally repressive regime. I quote, "They're scary motherfuckers to get involved with," Mickelson said. "We know they killed Khashoggi and have a horrible record on human rights. They execute people over there for being gay. Knowing all this, why would I consider it? Because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to reshape how the PGA Tour operates. They've been able to get by with manipulative, coercive, strong-arm tactics because we, the players, had no recourse. As nice a guy as Jay Monahan comes across, unless you have leverage, he won't do what's right, and the Saudi money has finally given us that leverage. I'm not sure I even want the SGL to succeed, but just the idea of it allowing us to get things done with the tour." When I read that Wednesday on Twitter, I had to make sure I read it right, because it seemed like that was not a real statement that someone that's been around the block like Mickelson would make. I don't even know where to start with that. What was your biggest problem with that quote alone, or what he had to say there?
So I had a busy week of work. So when it first came out, I didn't hear much of it. I just heard guys were not doing the thing there. So I think I talked to you yesterday, or it was Saturday or something like that, and looked into it a little bit there, and didn't actually see the quote until then. And I was like, there's no way that this couldn't have been him. I mean, he's just, he's flat out announcing that this is kind of just a leverage against the PGA Tour, whether the SGL is going to be, a real thing or not, or if they're just using it to leverage themselves for the PGA Tour to get, more control of what they want. Because, Mickelson's complained a little bit about, about the a little bit about tournaments and stuff, and then what his own media rights of his own golf shots. And
Right.
The PGA Tour is very famous for being extraordinarily protective on their own, with their own recordings at their own events and everything like that. But I mean, to go out and then kind of criticize and the Saudi government, and at the same time saying, well, the PGA Tour is very controlling and everything like that. It was almost like it had to have been made up. Like it literally was just some sort of joke or something like that. And I almost don't even believe it that it was said. But I mean, that's something that probably Phil Mickelson would say, because I think he tends to want to be the smartest guy in the room. And
Right.
In this case, he's smart, but I don't think he is. I mean,
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. The quote about wanting to get leverage is it's just so insane. And to do that, you run into the arms of a murderous government that he himself called scary motherfuckers. I mean, the whole thing is almost so preposterous you wouldn't think it's true, but it really is. And this is after, so he made these comments in November to Shipnuck, and now they're just coming out 3 months later. But I mean, at that time, that's when we found out that Mickelson was winning some of the pit money, of course, which was more than he had ever won in a single season, right? In the PGA Tour, just prize money. I think was eight. So he got 8 million. That's what.
Assuming he ended up
Right.
winning.
Right.
I think there was one more final tally, but he basically announced that he won it. So I would assume he did.
Right. And that's also at the same time where they talked about they were increasing the purse to the for the Players Championship to $20 million. The FedEx bonus pool was increasing from 60 million to 75 million. So all the ways that the tour was injecting money, and Mickelson was a direct recipient of that, and then he still had that to say. The whole thing has been really strange to me, and I don't know who the other top players were that were helping write the rules or the operating agreement, or I guess their attorneys. But was it Bryson? That it seemed like Bryson was the most closely aligned with Phil this whole time. Of course, Bryson came out yesterday, and this was after Dustin came out and said that they were both aligned with the tour, and that really seemed to be the last two pieces we were waiting on to see which way they were going to go. We had heard from all the other power players like Rory. Rory came out a year and a half ago. John Rahm has come out. JT, Spieth, Morikawa came out this week. So Tiger, of course, all the guys that we wanted to hear from, except Bryson and Dustin, who had really strongly been rumored, to be part of this. So those two chips falling out like they have, it feels like this thing. I don't want to say it's dead, because there's still some names out there that we heard. I think we talked about it last week that Kramer Hickok said there was 20 players that were signed on. So there might still be guys that were, with the Harold Varners, that we know Jason Kokrak's all in because he wants to retire at 44.
He kind of wears that logo on his shirt, Saudi Golf.
That's right. So, and then it's just a bunch of veterans, like Euro veterans, like Stenson, Westwood, Graham McDowell. I mean, these guys. But I don't know, where do you think this thing lies? Is this thing completely dead now?
Dead in the sense that it's got any significant relevance to American golf fans? Yes. I mean, this is basically going to be it's going to be the Champions Tour is what kind of this is going. If they want to go ahead with it, it's going to be guaranteed money for these guys who, can't win on the DP Tour or can't win on the PGA Tour anymore. And, from 45 to 55 or 60 years old or something like that, if they end up going through with it, that's what it's going to be. And they needed Bryson or DJ to make it relevant. I mean, I think that's what they were kind of counting on was Phil Mickelson and one of those two guys. And there's probably a few that have signed up, and whether that's that's an agreement that they're going to continue to go with despite the huge fallout and everything like that. But back to just one more thing about the comment though that he made, it almost sounds like Phil Mickelson was making that comment months ago, thinking, well, let's build this up as much as we can in the next several months. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, because he didn't care if it failed or not. He's just looking for one big final $100 million, payday basically. And maybe he was using it to actually gain that leverage, with the pit money, with the Players Championship prize fund, FedEx Cup money, things like that. But I think as far as this goes, I mean, if you like watching the Champions Tour, the SGL is going to be just for you. I mean, that's what it is, because you'll get guys, and you might get younger guys, but you're going to get that quality of that field. You're going to get good players, but you get these young guys who just never made it on tour, that are Monday qualifying, that are on the Corn Ferry, but they can, maybe sign a more guaranteed deal to, to take care of their families and stuff. But I mean, do you think in your, our lifetime here, this generation, you don't think that this is ever going to rival anything what the PGA Tour does, do you?
No, I don't think so. I heard this comparison today, and I thought it was pretty on point. The USFL, the Trump funded football league in the 80s, it had some momentum for a while. I remember Jim Kelly was drafted to a USFL team. I think it was 3 straight Heisman Trophy winners. They were really getting guys, but they just didn't have the name brand that the NFL has, and it eventually it kind of petered out. And this might just be that comparison for the PGA Tour, but it's losing legs before it even gets started. Are you going to want to tune into an event like the Genesis with a historic golf course with all the top 10 players, or are you going to tune into an event where I don't even know where they're going to be playing, with Henrik Stenson, Ian Poulter, Lee Westwood, and maybe Harold Varner coming down the stretch. It's just, there's too much going against it. It would make sense to me that if they're not getting the stars, that maybe they go for some, they talk to some Corn Ferry guys and offer them 10, 15, $20 million guaranteed contracts. And that would be interesting to the young guys like that want to make some money. And I don't know where it goes now. I'm more interested what the fallout is with Mickelson. Before we get to him, Bryson and DJ, they're not going to get nearly as much heat as Mickelson. Bryson might, because he's Bryson, but DJ will probably get off the hook, mostly scot-free for this. I know we're both big fans of DJ, but he shouldn't be totally I guess he should have some culpability for even considering this, though, on his resume.
I think with him having just being under the speculation that it's a possibility and not denouncing his possible candidacy to be a member of the SGL. Yeah, I think it definitely deserves some of that, but yeah, nobody's going to say anything because DJ can kind of just play dumb and just say, well, I didn't think I needed to say anything and everything like that. But, if generally in these situations, if you're not going to say anything, like as with the ease that everybody else said something so quickly, that he was probably seriously considering it. And yeah, you're right. Bryson's going to get everything that he's going to get is for a reason, because he's not well liked among the fans and everything like that. But yeah, DJ deserves some blame here, but I don't think he's going to get much. And I think a lot of them, I think Mickelson's obviously going to be the fall guy for a lot of what happens here for obvious reasons. But I think he accepted that, probably getting the biggest check out of all of them. He was going to be the one that had the most to lose out of this. So I think we'll see that more than anything.
I wonder if this is just a small golf world story, like a golf niche story. I was talking to someone that's a golf person, and they asked me if I had watched the tournament yesterday. I said, of course. And I said, what'd you think of all the stuff that came out with Mickelson? They had no idea. Golf Twitter is a really small sphere of people, and we really enjoy it because a lot of the people we follow are really into these kind of stories and, the humor behind it. And, that's the fun part of Twitter for us. But I don't know how big this is going to tarnish his legacy with, popular sports fans, maybe specific golf niche fans like us. It's, we might think differently of Mickelson. I don't know. We'll see how big of a story this really is that as we go forward. I'm so fascinated by this Mickelson thing. I said last week, I don't know if he's having financial issues. there's got to be something to this, though. I mean, and I was reading more of Shipnuck's article. I guess he sold his jet in 2019, and the word is like that his jet is basically like his child, or like his, I don't know if he's got three kids, like his fourth kid. Pat Perez came out and said this week that he didn't know what was going on with Phil, that he's dealing with a lot of stress right now. I don't know what that means. I don't know how a guy that annually brings in $40 to $50 million in endorsements, that has made almost $100 million in the PGA Tour, could be in a financial crisis. But that it feels like there's got to be something behind this motivation, doesn't it?
I saw the comments this morning from Pat Perez. That was like, what's he got that's stressing him out? I mean, he's the defending PGA champion. He makes so much in endorsements. I didn't know anything about the selling the plane or anything like that. I mean, the only thing I could think of is the fall guy in Phil Mickelson's insider trading deal. Actually, he was writing a book that's supposed to release sometime, I think it's next quarter or something like that. And he's got an entire paragraph entire chapter that's dedicated to Phil Mickelson. So I don't know if there's some worry that there's going to be some truths that are coming out. And, for people who probably are going like, what the heck's going on here? He was always a big time stock trader and everything. And had gotten involved in some insider trading with this other guy. His name escapes me right now, but was basically the fall guy. He's in prison and Phil Mickelson isn't, and it probably should be the other way around. So you're right. There might be some things going on in life, but yeah, for Pat Perez to say that, I mean, dude just basically has to sit on the couch every day. He's got a chipping green out in his backyard, and all he does is can just tweet funny tweets all the time and dad jokes. And now we got this stuff right here talking about, scary motherfuckers and using it for leverage. And, it's just like, what is going on here? And yeah, I don't know how much of a big deal, because I don't think a lot of the sports world really knows. It's kind of mainly reserved to the golf Twitter that probably, I guess obsesses more about it than anything else. But I don't know what to make of that. I'm kind of very intrigued, though, to see how the next several months plays out. Once this book comes out and once the other book comes out, what are we going to remember? Are we going to be talking about this months down the line here from this discussion here? Or is what is going to come about of this? And I'm kind of excited about it.
I don't read generally, but I might be purchasing that book by Shipnuck.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see where we see Mickelson next. I don't know if he's just going to be like, hey, he'll just show up at the Players and just say, hey, all right, can we just forget all that happened? Or is he going to release a statement? Or is it going to be a very big presser there? I don't think we'll see him before the Players. I know he typically doesn't play Bay Hill anymore. So the whole thing is fascinating to me. I have a way out if Mickelson's in a financial crisis, though. Do you want to hear my?
Yes, I do.
He needs to become the next Tony Romo of golf, and he'll make $25 million a year.
Oh, yeah.
This is simple. I mean, stop playing and replace Nick Faldo at CBS, which, by the way, CBS is killing it in every way besides Nick Faldo. That's it. And he could make $25 million a year. He doesn't even have to be at every event, and he'll be great at it. And he'll immediately repair his now tarnished reputation. So that's my resolution for Phil. Just hang it up while you have some shred of dignity left, and go do TV, and you can make all the money back that you've lost to however you've lost it.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is, according to Pat Perez, all these stresses. So we'll see how that pans out. Honda Classic. Last year it was probably one of the more unmemorable events of 2021 was the Honda Classic, when Matt Jones kind of just put everyone to sleep and won by a few shots, I think. And it was pretty surprising, but not that great. And like we mentioned, the field is not great this week. It just is what it is. This always has the feel of like there's always a European in the mix going into the final round or on the last 9 holes. It's Tommy Fleetwood, or one year it's Terrell Hatton, Alex Noren. It's got a lot of those kind of guys, and then a lot of mid-level guys like Keith Mitchell winning. Sanjay got his first win here. Of course, now he's I wouldn't call him a mid-tier guy, but guys like Michael Thompson winning here in the past. So this course is traditionally one of the toughest on tour. When the wind blows, it's incredibly difficult. You might see the winner 4, 5, 6 under. If the wind is moderate or it's down, it'll still be only 10, 12 under. That's what it's been the last couple of years. Of course, with just a litany of hazards, of course, you got to be really accurate off the tee. It's not that long, but there is 5 par 4s that play over 450. You just really got to keep the ball in play here, or you can shoot 78 really pretty easily, right?
Oh yes, this is one of the hardest golf courses. We talked about Riv being one of the hardest. That is, but we weren't talking about this golf course here. What the heck's the golf course called?
PJ National.
PJ National. I'm sorry. Is really hard. It's got water hazards. It's classic Florida golf, but hard Florida golf. It's a lot of water hazards. They're in South Florida, so they get a lot of wind. You'll hear all the time if you watch this event, they're going to reference the bear trap, like every other minute, Yeah. And they're legitimately really hard holes and everything. And while the field's not great, we tell you, what are reasons to watch a golf tournament. If you like to see guys like this kind of suffer and not play well, this is perfect, because it's probably one of the hardest courses. And like you said, it doesn't get the best field because of where it falls in the rotation. This is the first of the Florida tournaments here, and they've got 6 of them in a row or something like that. And so a lot of guys take the week off, which is weird because a lot of them live like 15 minutes away, but most of them end up not playing. This is just kind of conveniently the best option not to play, because I think they think the course is too hard. I think they don't, you look at the West Coast, you don't get much wind, you don't get much rain. You just deal with cool temperatures in the morning, and then perfect temperatures in the afternoon. So scores were going to be really, really low. I mean, we saw 19, 20 under par, this last event here. Winner's going to be 10 or 11 under par here, which is a significant difference. So it's a hard golf course. It used to be an unbelievably good field, but because of the way the schedule fits, it's just a very convenient week for these guys to take off for those reasons.
Yep, as you said it perfectly, and that's a good point about guys not maybe wanting to get, if your game is not sharp, you could get embarrassed pretty easily here. A lot of these guys live 15, 20 minutes away in Jupiter, or members at the Bears Club locally. So that's, I think really, the guys like Daniel Berger used to see, he was in the field this week. You used to see, JT won this event 3 or 4 years ago when it was still a really strong field, and it's just gotten progressively worse. So the field it's really tough this week. Sanjay M is the headliner at plus 1,000, going off as the favorite. Tommy Fleetwood, I think earlier today he was around plus 2,000. Now he's down to plus 1,400. This is on DraftKings. Berger at plus 1,600. I think he's easily the best player in the field, but there's obviously questions with his back and how healthy he is. Stays in at 1,600 as well. Niemann going for back-to-back at plus 1,800. Horschel at plus 1,800. Brooks at 2,000. Shane Lowry at 22. Those are the guys under 30 to 1. Joaquin Niemann, the way he hit the ball last week would really fit well here. I know you don't like guys going back-to-back usually, and his win last week wasn't a come from behind or have just a great Sunday. I mean, it's sleeping on the lead every night. Had to be in a bit of an exhausting toll. I can't think you're going to be headed toward Neiman this week.
Not in a win bet, although I don't know. There's something about his golf game that I think really fits here. And one of the stats I like to look at for this particular tournament is the strokes gained tee to green. That just kind of is the best representation to me of overall ball striking. You've got to be able to drive the ball well. You have to drive it extremely well. And I thought about off the tee, but I do want guys who could hit their irons well. So I'm just going to kind of go with the whole thing and go tee to green here as my favorite stat here. And Niemann really checks the boxes there. I think last 50 rounds, he's actually looks like he's fourth in the field at almost a full stroke gained tee to green there. And that makes it really intriguing. I don't know if I will bet him to win. I don't think I will, but I don't mind him in like a top 10. I think he could. I think he definitely could play well because, like I said, his game really, really fits. The one guy I like here, and I will say this because the field being not as quality of a field here, is shop around, look at multiple books here because. One guy I wanted to point out is I don't normally like him, but as a win bet, but Tommy Fleetwood, he's been playing some good golf. And he fits that, you mentioned a European player that shows up pretty well there. You can get him at 14 to 1 on the DraftKings Sportsbook, but if you go over to like PointsBet, he's still at 20 to 1 right now. I have a strong feeling that that 20 to 1 is going to be gone come tomorrow. So if you're going to get it quickly as you can there. But
yeah, and he's got a good course history here.
He's got a really good course history. The Bermuda greens, he hasn't always been great on, but his ball striking though is phenomenal. I mean, it maybe not as good as it was, 3-4 years ago when he was finishing top 5 in some major championships, but it's still there. And he played well in some DP Tour events. I think he finished Dubai. He finished 12th, 8th at the Saudi event. He was in the Varner pairing, so I think he was in that last group there. So
that's right.
there is some a good play out of him. I like him. I would still probably bet him at 14 to 1, but like I said, I think you can get a better number. The other guy I hate to admit it is I don't mind Billy Horschel.
Yeah.
It's not a strong field, so he's a good ball striker, and he's had some really good putting weeks when he puts it all together. And I mean, he's a Florida man, so I mean, he plays really well in Florida, and I don't think he's a bad bet on any Florida tournament. I think he's got some value there. So I'm going to probably put him on my betting card, maybe not as a best bet, or I'll try to find him in a matchup or maybe a top 10 or something like that. But I don't mind him 18 to 1 as a little bit on a win bet.
Yeah, Horschel's a good play. He really has played well this year. I mean, he showed up at Torrey Pines early on Sunday, I remember, and we were like, "Oh my God, Horschel's going to win this tournament." Where really didn't fit him that well. Horschel's a good play. Looks like you can find him at plus 2,200 on PointsBet. Looks like PointsBet might have some good odds this week. I'm really interested in Tommy Fleetwood. I'm not as interested at plus 1,400, but plus 2,000 I am. And I'm also debating a guy that also never wins in the U.S., Louis Oosthuizen, a guy that I always just destroy here. But I don't know, man. This feels like potentially a Louis week with just total ball striking. As you said, just being the paramount thing here, keeping the ball in play. You don't have to go shoot 20 under this week. I want guys that play hard golf courses well. That's not necessarily a metric that you can find. That's more of an eye test thing. And the fact is, Louis is always there in majors. He's always there at the most difficult courses. And the tougher it plays this week, that might be an asset to him. But I have to think about it because again, he never wins ever. So Oosthuizen and Fleetwood had my eye. That's probably the only guys that I would look at under 30-1. Brooks is it's interesting to think about. I thought his history here was unbelievable. Like, oh, this is a Brooks course, but he only had the runner up to Mitchell the 1 year in 19, and it's not been good otherwise. So I don't know. The Phoenix thing was good for a while. It was kind of disappointing for him on the weekend. So I think Brooks for me is going to be a pass.
One other one I want to mention is Shane Lowry. He has played pretty well in the DP Tour events. Been pretty solid there. And actually he lives in Jupiter, Florida, so he's one of the locals there. So and he's a great win player, and that's what they're going to get. So again, that's a pretty low number there. This first batch, these numbers are so low that it's real hard to pull the trigger on a win. But again, shop around, and I wouldn't mind him at all. And he may not be a guy who wins a lot because he really hasn't. But I mean, if you're looking at a top 10 or top 20 finish, if you want to make some plus money, I think he's one of the better options up there.
I was looking back at my best bets for this event last year. It was Shane Lowry to win. So
that's
funny.
Right. I remember that.
I was really high on him. It's funny you mentioned him. 35 to let's just say 60-1 in that range. We have Matt Wolff, who talent wise, is up there in the top 2 or 3 in this field. Don't know where he's at. Really haven't seen him a lot this the calendar year. We saw him a lot in the fall where he played well. Keith Mitchell at 35-1. That's hard. It's hard seeing that on paper. And I actually liked the thought of him this week, but I'm used to seeing him at like 150-1.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago he's like 100-1.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unbelievable how he jumps to 35-1 as a former champion.
Yeah, that's an unbettable number, unfortunately. Alex Noren at 35, Vegas, Poulter, Harmon, Mac Hughes at 40. Mito Pereira, we'll talk about him at 45. Defending champ Matt Jones, 50. Taylor Moore. Zayden Hood, a guy we talk about a lot at 50. Aaron Wise, Westwood. Denny at 55. Cam Young, again, playing again this week at 55. And Ryan Palmer. So I want to talk about Mito. I bet him today. I don't know if you ended up betting him or not. But he finished 15th last week. I think he ranks 7th in this field, tee to green. He was kind of the darling of the fall when he had a string of good finishes. Really seemed like he was close to a win. Tailed off a little bit the early part of the 2022 calendar season, but finished 25th at Farmers, 15th last week. Ball striking seems to be coming around. On paper, if you look at a guy that's just got win equity from Korn Ferry events and the ball striking aptitude that the PJ National requires, I like Mito to on a win bet. I don't know if he wins, but if I'm betting the ceiling, I like the number. It might be a little high because I think it wasn't that long ago. You could have got him at 100-1 a couple weeks ago, but that just shows how bad this field is.
Yeah, and I don't mind him either. I've always mentioned him, or at least the last fall I was on him basically weekly here. Yep. Fellow countryman wins this last week. Mito, it's a lot of the Spanish speakers when they're on the road together, they always run a house. Mito, Jaco, I think Sergio Garcia, and they all kind of just hang out there. So I wonder if there's some motivation there, that there's one of the guys in the house wins, that if that can propel him to some inspired play. But not only the inspired play, but his golf game itself is just better. And I'm going to bet him to win. Actually, I did bet him to win after you told me there, and I saw that number there. It was still pretty fair. But he played well last week. He finished 15th, 4 rounds under par. Tee Green, good ball striker. So he fits the stat I want in the players this week. So I'm going to go ahead and put him on my card in some capacity there. I kind of want to throw something on Cam Young. I don't know if we're going to see that guy win, but the number's still not bad. And, I don't see fatigue or anything like that into this week here. So with a slightly worse field, it can be something where he can break through. Maybe not on a win bet, but looking at something in the top 20 or top 10.
He has motivation. He's getting close to the top 50, and top 50. If he gets in the top 50 before the players, I think he'll lock himself into the Masters. So motivation for him to play well for sure. I'm looking at two guys at 50. It feels like it's two guys we talk about a lot. Christian Behazen, who I feel like we've talked about a lot. Normally, courses that have any length, you disqualify him right away because if he's not the shortest off the tee, he's one of the shorter guys off the tee. He's really a bunter out there, but his short game has always been, really solid, really good putter. I don't know if we've seen the best of him putting on the PGA Tour. He did his best work. I think it was the end of the 2020 season on the DP World Tour. I think he won like 2 events and 3 starts. I like the thought of him. I got to think about that. And then the other one is Aaron Wise. We know his ball striking is usually there. His putter is a bit of a question mark always. I think it was this tournament last year. He was close to Matt Jones going the last day, and he faltered. I think he 4-putted on number 10 last year in the final round, and it kind of separated him. But he has had at least reasonable success on this golf course. And, we're in the numbers of 50-1, and there's just not a lot of other guys that interest me in this range. I don't know about you.
No, I think we might see a winner from somewhere in this area here, but the names though, they're just not going to jump out at me other than who you and I both mentioned there. I don't mind Bezadenhout. That's it is very intriguing, and I think even though he hasn't won on the PGA Tour, he's got that win equity there. But you kind of look down the line there, and what are we going to?
6,000.
6,000 or so.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't love it other than Wise.
And I alluded to it earlier. I think this week does have a lot of live betting value.
Yes.
In a field where it doesn't feel like there's going to be a runaway winner, you could catch some interesting numbers on like a Friday afternoon. That's where the books usually, they might have someone coming up the board that they don't have priced accurately. So I might not spend a ton pre-tournament and save some of that back for live. 6,500, or I'm sorry, 6,000 up to 10,000. Johnny, is there anyone in that range there that you like for top 10? I see names like Pat Reed. By the way, did you see the Twitter video with him like rubbing his wedge and like rubbing it on the liner of his pants pocket, like inside of his pants pocket? And
I heard about the tweet, but no, I didn't.
I mean, there was a bit of a debate if he was rubbing some sort of substance on on his wedge. I don't think he was, but
he deserves it though.
He's playing so bad. I don't even think this does not feel like a good setup for him with his ball striking right now.
No, I wouldn't touch Patrick Reed at this event here. We've talked about the short game and everything like that, but he's not driving the ball well, not hitting a lot of greens, and this course will probably eat him up there. CT Pan has been playing pretty well recently. He finished 3rd out here at this event last year, and I think there's you know, he tends to play tough tracks pretty well. His game doesn't necessarily fit the profile of success, but I mean, he just seems to show up in these type of events that have tougher golf courses. Like I think he played pretty well last week at Riv, and like I said, the third place last year. I'm not sure about a win, but I do like him in a top spot there. And Garrick Higo, good driver of the golf ball. I'm not going to bet him to win. I know he's got the one PGA Tour victory, but with this being a little bit of a weaker field event, there's some there's some potential there with as well as he drives the ball. And if he just hits his irons decent and maybe gives himself some opportunities, I could see him making the cut and finishing in that top 20 range, maxed out at.
I haven't even paid attention to him since he won. Or maybe he just hasn't shown up at all.
He fell off the face of the earth at the when the wraparound season kind of started. I mean, he was missing cuts like every event there, and he's made a couple cuts, I believe, in the West Coast swing. So there's a sign of life. It's not much of one, but at 100 to 1, I mean, I'm sure you could find worse options like Ricky Fowler or Pat Reed or something like that.
I texted you last night and I said the first guy I'm going to be looking for this morning, which is my traditional Monday morning, is checking the odds and seeing what's available before the odds go down. As I said, I like Russell Knox. I said I don't know why. Maybe it's my feeling like I had about Andrew Putnam a couple weeks ago at Pebble, but I just feel like Russell Knox is going to play well this week. He is a top 10 in this field, tee to green. He's mainly an approach assassin, fourth in this field in approach the last 50 rounds. I thought his course history was better than it is. It's actually missed the cut for the last 5 years here. Oops. But he did have that one playoff loss in 8 years ago here. It's one of those things where I just visualized him playing this course better than he has, but he has made 3 straight cuts the last 3 weeks. He's actually finished 33rd the last 3 events. That's kind of a weird stat anomaly, but I don't know why. I just love Russell Knox this week. I love him at the number he's at plus 6,500. I actually bet him on a different book for a lower number, but that's probably going to be my best bet of the week, to be honest. Just a good feeling about him this week that he's going to play well.
Yeah, I would kind of back that up. I mean, good win player. He's from Scotland, so he's grown up in the wins there. I liked him at Pebble Beach. He ended up playing okay. He ended up making the cut and having a finish there. But yeah, this would be good. I would have assumed, like you said, that the course history would have been a little bit better, but it is what it is there. But doesn't mean that he can't play there. And I'm going to tell you on that bet because I like that as well. One guy I did forget is, what do you think about Denny McCarthy this week? I know isn't he the Bermuda Greens guy? He's a juke guy. So he's going to be sleeping in his own bed here. I don't know what he's got for course history, but
he finished third last year.
There we go. So okay, that's maybe why I was thinking that might not be too bad. But yeah, he might be in line for a decent finish. And like we said, these type of greens now, they're in Florida. They're not playing the Poana. They're playing the Bermuda grass, which is completely different type of grass to putt on, and it's different to read. And guys who are from Florida and live in that area typically are much more used to it. So,
as I've said here, Denny, one of the better putters on tour. I think I once said maybe the best statistically, and he rates out that really well on these greens. Tee to green, he's basically right around average, so he's going to need a better ball striking week than that to contend. But I like Denny. My other guy in this range is Michael Thompson at plus 8,000. We saw him flash a couple times earlier in the year. And then I think there was a week everyone was on him, and then he bombed and missed the cut. But then he came back the following week and played well. So, you're going to have that with guys that are 80 to 1 or 100 to 1, that they're going to miss cuts, and you just got to kind of look past that and look at some other metrics. This guy has played well here. He's won. He's a control player, accuracy guy off the tee. I think at that number, compared to the other guys around him, I like it. I like it at 80-1. 100-1 and above. Johnny, the field is, as we talked about, it gets super rough all the way down to Alan Noren, the last guy on the odds board here. Give me a name or two you like in this range for anything, top 20, top 40.
Yikes. This is the first I've looked at deep in the field there, and there are some names here.
Well, listen,
I kind of want to say
was it last week Cam Young was 200-1, right?
Yeah. No, there's names. I just don't know which ones they are. I mean, I look at Kevin Tway played well last week. Is he going to play well again this week? I mean, he's a name. I don't know. I can't look up his stats because my unfortunately my one monitor's frozen here, but I'd have to rely on you for that. But
who was it?
Kevin Tway.
Oh, Kevin Tway. Oh, I haven't talked about him in like 4 years.
Yeah,
Kevin Tway is negative 0.6 per round to green. Actually gaining a lot putting. But yeah, tee to green, he's pretty well in the red.
I'm trying to find somebody in this bottom here that'll make a cut. Why don't you go first?
Well, why not Hudson Swafford at 180-1, a guy that has won not that long ago, and can get really on with his tee to green game. He's ranks in I'd say in the top 20 in tee to green here. It looks like in this field around the green he can struggle. Doesn't have a great course history necessarily, but again, 180-1. That's what we're talking about. I don't mind him. When I talk about ball striking, Doug Gama 150-1. Brendan Steele is oddly enough, a horse for the course. I penciled him today. His last 2 years here, he's finished third and fourth, had a 14th in 2017 as well. He's going off 140-1, but plus 900 for a top 10. I like Brendan Steele in some aspect this week. It doesn't seem like he'd be necessarily a course fit because he's more of a power player, but might just be one of those things where the course fits his eye well. So there's a couple names that I'll be targeting down the board, right in the 140 to 180-1 range.
I don't think I'm going to target anybody this low. I just don't like. I don't like this.
You hate this range every week. Every week.
I know, because it's just it's a bunch of garbage.
It's a roulette wheel. It really is.
I mean, Danny Willett. I mean, Jason Duffner.
What about Adam Schenk at 200-1? This guy's been playing pretty well for a while. Well, okay. I'm gonna take that back. In the fall, he was playing pretty well. I think in the Vegas event, one of the biggest events, he was in the final.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, at the end of last calendar year. But that's what you got to look at. And this is even though it's got that weak field, you could potentially find a diamond in the rough there. You got to look who maybe didn't play in the last event, is not flying across the country and playing and everything. And
yeah,
this is a lot of just these Florida guys that are
it's Nick Hardy at 300-1. We know he has talent. Yeah, I think we're good here. All right, the Honda Classic is in the books. We're only 2 weeks away from the Players Championship. Like we said, the calendar really gets fun starting last week. Bay Hill next week. followed by the Players, and then we're really knocking on the door of the Masters. So it should be a fun few weeks. Johnny, thanks for joining as always.
Thanks. Good to be on.
Your best bets. We'll have our picks up on Wednesday. Check those out and see if we can bounce back from last week and get ourselves a W. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time.